Language is a beautiful thing. It allows Homo sapiens from all around the world to convey the human experience as they see it. Most of the time, even if we can't understand each other's languages, we can still have an extremely awkward yet comprehensible exchange through Google Translate. But sometimes cultures, Germans, come up with outrageously specific or just plain convoluted words that cannot be translated into English. So this is the untranslatable words iceberg that I made that absolutely no one asked for. Happy holidays. Now, if you already know how an iceberg video works, you can skip to this timestamp, but for all of you who don't know, hi, I'm Cole, how you doing? I'm about to explain it. So each iceberg is separated into tiers. The first tier will consist of words that are relatively simple to explain and that you'd probably run into if you were learning the language that it belongs to. But as we go down the iceberg, the words are just gonna get more hilarious, more and more convoluted, and hopefully more interesting. With the last few tiers just making you think, why does this exist? So without further ado, let's get into the first tier. Cafuné is a word from Brazilian Portuguese that just means to tenderly run your fingers through somebody's hair. That's pretty freaking cute. Saudade. Now, saudade is another Portuguese word that just refers to this feeling of longing for something or someone that you love that is now lost. It's kind of like nostalgia, but you can have saudade of places or people. It's kind of like this mixture of nostalgia, longing, and wanting to see something or someone again because you really miss it. Belita Mpash. Belita Mpash simply means an excellent dream. Like the complete opposite of a nightmare. The one that makes you want to go back to sleep after you get up in a futile attempt to escape from your current reality type deal. Utepils. I'm probably pronouncing all of these wrong. Utepils is a Norwegian word that simply means to sit outside on a nice day and enjoy a beer or a cold drink. Cold turkey. So a large portion of my audience is actually from outside of the US. So as a tribute to you guys, hi, I love you. I'll be putting in some English words here that you may not be very likely to come across that I personally think are really interesting. That also I haven't found an equivalent in any other language that I've studied. So cold turkey is just when you stop something completely. Like let's say you used to regularly smoke like a couple cigarettes a day, you just stop smoking all at once. You don't like wane your way down to like one cigarette a week, you just stop altogether. I have no idea where this phrase comes from, but we say it a lot. Wanderlust. Wanderlust is a pretty common word. It's actually a German word that just describes this irrepressible and pathological need to travel. Like all you want to do is travel. Go kidda. Okay, so if I don't know how to pronounce any one of these words, which will happen a lot, I'm just gonna intentionally pronounce it in the worst way possible because I think it would be funnier than trying to pronounce it and failing. I'm about to butcher like 10 languages. No, I'll actually try. Gokuda. This just means waking up early so that you can hear those little birds sing. I mean, that's cute and all, but I think a better word would be to describe that feeling when you're laying down in your bed trying to get to sleep. You don't know what time it is, but you know it's super late. And then suddenly it gets outside and you hear the birds singing. You're like, man, I just stayed up for an entire night again. What is wrong with me? We definitely need a word for that. Pochemuchka is a Russian word that simply refers to a person that asks too many questions. Not much to see here. All right, now we're on to tier 2, so these words are gonna get a lot more obscure really fast. Jayus is an Indonesian word that refers to a joke that is so bad that it's good. Or a joke that's so poorly told and so unfunny that people just can't help but laugh. Like the delivery was terrible and you feel kind of bad for the person that actually tried to say the joke. That's Jayus. Jayus? Yeah, let's go with that. Kilig is a word in Tagalog, so the language of the Philippines, that refers to that feeling of butterflies that you get that's associated with romance. Pena ajena. Pena ajena is a Spanish word or phrase, I guess, that means that you feel embarrassed for somebody else, like on their behalf. Kind of like cringe, but surprisingly there isn't an English counterpart for this, because you can feel happy or sad for someone, or you can feel embarrassed for yourself by looking at someone else's actions, but we don't have a word that accurately describes feeling embarrassed for somebody else. So, pena ajena. Desbundar. This is probably my favorite word on the list. This is a Portuguese word that simply means to get rid of all of your inhibitions, but specifically while having fun. So maybe you go into something dreading it, maybe you feel a little anxious about it, but then you get in there, desbundar, and you start to feel great. It really gives you a sense of the Portuguese and Brazilian cultures. I have no idea how to pronounce this one. I think it's Hiraith. and it refers to a feeling of homesickness combined with grief and also sadness for your homeland or a romanticized past. But the crazy thing about this one is that the object of your haraith normally isn't attainable, or perhaps it never existed at all. So that's definitely something to contemplate. Schlimmzel. Schlimmzel is a Yiddish word that simply refers to a person that is extremely unlucky. Like, you know the guy in the Adventures of Benjamin Button that was struck by lightning 7 times? That everyone thought was crazy? He would be a schlimmzel, or schlimazel, schlimmabob. Flanner is a French word that simply means aimlessly wandering around places just to enjoy the views. So kind of like meandering in English, but specifically to enjoy the landscape or nature or whatever else you want to look at. Kuyoi kumama. This is a Japanese word that refers to a mother that is constantly pushing her children towards academic achievement. Like, that's the #1 priority. Kind of like the Japanese version of a tiger mom. Jubjote. Jubjote, I love this word. This is a French word. This means to awaken from a dream that hasn't ended yet and then trying to go back to sleep to witness the ending. Definitely something that we have all done at some point. Yaourt. Yogurt. Yaourt is a French word that means someone who sings along to a foreign song by trying to mimic the sounds of it without actually knowing what the lyrics mean or knowing the language at all. That's pretty funny. We wouldn't really have that in the US just because not many people listen to foreign music. But it never hurts to add something new to your playlist. Mikabozu is a Japanese word that literally means 3-day monk. And it's someone who gives up at the slightest difficulty and can't seem to stick to anything. Like, they keep starting and trying things. Usually they have really ambitious goals, and then the moment things start to get hard, they just stop and go on to something else. Tsundoku is another Japanese word, and it just means someone who has a habit of buying a lot of books but never actually reading them. Like, they have a full bookcase of books that they've never read. I'm definitely one of those people, I gotta admit. Tartul. This is another great one. So this is a Scottish verb meaning to hesitate while introducing someone because you forgot their name. It's kind of hard to introduce someone and you don't know who they are. Oh yeah, this is, screw it, just start talking, get to know each other. I just can't be asked. Pain. Grungjai is a Thai word, the first Thai word on this list. And it means to feel obliged to do something for someone to prevent them from feeling bad. Like when a good friend of yours invites you to that place that they know you hate, but they think that they're doing you a service by getting you to touch grass, so you go out anyway because you don't want to stop getting invited to things altogether. That's grungjai. I guess. Starting off tier 3, we have Tingo. This is from the Pasquense language of Easter Island, and it is the act of taking objects one desires from the house of a friend by gradually borrowing all of them. So it's basically just stealing. Like that's just plain old stealing. Like, what? Maybe that's why no one lives on Easter Island anymore, because people just kept stealing things from each other until one day they all just got so fed up and started killing each other out of rage. Oh god. Alright, this isn't much of a word, but more so a phrase, but I added it because I thought it was really relatable. Hia don sabab is a French phrase that literally means laughing into your beard. And it means laughing to yourself at something that happened in the past. Like maybe something cringy that you accepted, or something that was once pretty traumatic, but you got over it, so now you laugh about it with others, that kind of thing. Komorebi is a Japanese word that is really easy to explain, but it's so freaking obscure that I had to put it in a lower tier. It means the sunlight that filters through the leaves on a tree. Yeah, I don't know. Sobremesa. Sobremesa is a wonderful word in Spanish. So it literally means dessert, but it also has a very deep alternate meaning as well. It's used to describe that moment after eating together with a group of people that you really love. Like you're just talking and playing games and just enjoying people's company. Maybe you're watching a soap opera because Spanish. That's sobremesa. Poquito. This is a Japanese word, definitely not Italian, that means absently idling without doing or thinking about anything in particular, like you're just there existing. So basically what you're doing right now. Xiaochi is a Chinese word that literally means little eat, and it refers to food that is in between a snack and a meal in terms of size. So maybe you're hungry, but it's not time to eat yet, so you have either a lot of snacks or something light that is bigger than a snack to satisfy your hunger, to hold you over until it's time to actually eat. Bowl. I love this one. So bowl is an Italian gesture. It's more of a gesture than an actual word, and it doesn't really have any meaning. People just say it when they realize they don't know something, and it's usually accompanied by a shoulder shrug or a frown. Bowl. Fußhupe. Oh my god, now we're getting into the German words. This one is so messed up. So Fußhupe literally means foot horn, and it refers to a dog that is so tiny that it may accidentally get stepped on. But not only that, it's called foot horn because after the dog gets stepped on, the Germans somehow think that it's going to make a sort of honking sound. Like, dear God. Kummerspeck. Yeah, we're really getting into the German words now. This means grief bacon, and it refers to the weight one gains through emotional stress eating. So all that ice cream that you started to eat at night for no reason really piling up in the belly area. That's your Kummerspeck. Sankocha. This is a word from Kannada, which is an Indian language, I believe. And this is that feeling of discomfort or overall weirdness after you received a really expensive or extravagant gift, and you feel obliged to return the favor and give that person something of equal value, but you can't afford it. Okay, how do you expect me? It's Polish. It's Polish. Zelectvich. Let's go with that. Oh, Polish. What are we gonna do with you? This just means to use connections, charms, or bribes to get something that you want. Sometimes it's used to refer to attractive women that use their looks to get like free dates or free stuff from otherwise lonely dudes. But of course it can be applied to men as well. Gattara. This is an Italian word that basically means crazy cat lady. It refers to a woman that enjoys spending more time with her mini cats than an actual living, breathing human being. Who am I to judge? Mirak. This one is so cute and wholesome. So this is a Serbian word. It means the feeling you get from simple pleasures that add up to an overall feeling of happiness and fulfillment. So maybe getting up early to see the sunrise, or just watching the sunset with someone you love, you know, just the little things. Labbioccio. A very fitting Italian word that means the groggy, sleepy, happy feeling you feel after eating a lot. If you have ever celebrated Thanksgiving, then you know exactly what this feels like. Glugavjord is an Icelandic word that means weather that looks beautiful, but is unpleasant to be in. So maybe it's really nice and sunny out, but also really humid, so you feel kind of sticky and you don't want to actually be in it, but looking outside, it looks pretty good. Lagom is a Swedish word that means just right. Not too much, not too little, like just right, just in the middle, the Goldilocks zone. Why don't we have a word for that? That's like a really simple concept, but I feel like that would be really useful in a lot of situations. Grima is that feeling you get where someone like scratches their nails on a blackboard, or like metal scraping along metal. The thought of a needle piercing your eye, the sound of someone cracking their knuckles, or when you put a toothpick in your big toe and kick a door. Just like the feeling you get, it's like, oh, that's grima. Gyakugire is a Japanese word that means being angry at someone for justifiably being angry at you. Like you're angry at someone for being angry at you, even though you know that their feelings are valid, but you're mad anyway. And with that, we go on to tier 4. Higgelig? Higgelig. This is a Danish word that is actually really, really common, but is kind of hard to explain. The closest thing to it in English is cozy, warm, or nice, but it's a lot more than that. I guess it's more so that feeling of feeling safe in one's home, or like sitting inside on a really cold day in front of a fire, like eating food and stuff. Just like a really comfortable, nice, extremely pleasant place to be in. Maskrospen is a Swedish word that literally means dandelion child. And it is someone who had a really difficult childhood, but ended up being all right in the end. Like a dandelion breaking through tough pavement. That's actually really nice and poetic. I love that. Almost brings a tear to your eye. Skamskudde. Again, Skamskudde. Skamskudde? I need to study Swedish, man. This means cringe pillow, and it's a pillow, real or imaginary, whatever that means, that is used to cover one's face when watching something cringy. So I guess technically your hands can be a cringe pillow too. Schnapsidee. Schnapsidee is a particularly amazing German word that refers to brilliant ideas that someone comes up with when they're drunk as fuck. and the idea turns out to not be so brilliant after all, but seems amazing when you're under the influence. That's schnapsade. Akihi is a Hawaiian word that is just fantastic. It means receiving instructions from somebody and then immediately forgetting everything they told you when you actually go out and try to do the thing. Guys, seriously, let's do the English language of service and come up with some words for the language in the comments. We need an Akihi in English. Oh my god, that would be gold. All right, this is actually a 2-for-1. Treppenwitz is a German word, and l'esprit d'escalier is a French phrase that both mean the same thing. And it's when a conversation is over, but you just thought of a really clever or witty comeback that you wish you could have used in the conversation, but alas, it's too late. Tarab. Tarab is an Arabic word that tries to convey a state of ecstasy that one feels after being put under the spell of a piece of music. So when you discover that new song that you just can't stop listening to on repeat, that's Tarab, not to be confused with haram. All right, again, we have another 2-for-1 here, which is kind of funny because these languages aren't like connected at all. Gumuservi in Turkish and mangata in Spanish. And they both mean the trail created by the moonlight's reflection on water, which is just beautiful. Strugimento. This is another Italian word, and it means a sense of pining or heartache that seems to gradually consume the body and spirit of those in love. So maybe after you break up with someone, but you find that you still have feelings for them. Merigiari. Man, there's a lot of Italian words. Okay, I'm just gonna read this one off because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It was translated into English as, quote, to pass noon pale and thoughtful, whatever the hell that means. But it's used to describe the act of resting in the shade outdoors during the hottest parts of the afternoon. Verschlimmbessern is a hilarious German word that means accidentally making things worse when you're trying to improve them. Everybody watching this video has done that at some point. Duende. This is a Spanish word that has several different meanings. It was first used to describe like a mythical entity that lives in a forest, kind of like a fairy or sprite, that possesses human beings and cause them to feel awe, fear, or a sense of beauty in their natural surroundings. So yeah, kind of convoluted. But in the modern day, it's used to refer to the mysterious force or power that causes someone to be deeply moved by a piece of art. Oh god. Oh god. Estağfurullah. Hasbullah. Hasbullah is a Turkish word that is used to courteously reject a compliment while still expressing gratitude for it. Like when you try to be humble by playing off the compliment, like you don't get 2 compliments a year, but really appreciate the validation anyway. Come on, let's be real here. That's what this word is about. All right, buckle up, because shit is about to get real weird in tier 5. Prozvanit. Prozvanit is a word in both the Czech and Slovak languages, and it's when you call someone on their phone, have it ring once, and then hang up. I guess in their culture, it's a way of saying, hey, call me back. And in the past, it allows callers to not spend so much money on minutes, before unlimited data became a thing. Aegyo. Aegyo is a Korean word that is just femininity with extra steps. It's women displaying charming behaviors to attract men. It also said it includes expressions that I'm pretty sure are Korean specific, like using baby voice and childlike facial expressions or gestures. I feel like there's a joke to be made here somewhere about not being attracted to children, but I'll just leave it at that. Bulimilernen is another really funny German word. It literally means bulimic studying, and it's the process of cramming for a test so that you can do well and then immediately forgetting everything the next day. Fernweh. Fernweh is another German word that means you wanting to go somewhere that you've never actually been to. It's kind of like Wanderlust, but it refers to a place that is completely unknown to you. Like when people believe they were born in the wrong place or deserve to live their life somewhere else for whatever reason. Torschlusspanik is, you guessed it, another German word that means gate closing panic and is used to describe the fear of diminishing opportunities as one ages. In Germany, it's commonly used to refer to women who are quote-unquote racing the biological clock to bear children and raise a family. Vorführeffekt. This is yet another German word that means demonstration effect. and it's the phenomenon of failing to do something that you can normally do as soon as you try to show someone else. It's the equivalent of doing 1,000 backflips in your life, and then the moment you try to show your friend that you can do it, you break your neck. Okay, maybe that was a little dark, but you get the point. Culaccino. This is an Italian word that refers to the ring left on a table after a moist glass was picked up off of it. It's also used to refer to the shit at the bottom of the glass that no one drinks. Razbliuto is a Russian word that is meant to represent the romantic feelings that you no longer have for someone, or the realization that you no longer have these feelings. Like if you see your ex on the street and you realize that you don't feel the same way towards them as you once did. That's Razbliuto. Verdeinsamkeit. This is another German word to describe the feeling that you have when you're alone in the woods and you feel like someone is watching you. So like everything around you becomes something. Like the branch looks like an arm, the tree looks like a dude, you know, stuff like that. Sehnsucht. We're gonna get through all the German words at some point, I promise. This describes love for an elusive object, desire, or person. Like a love you can have for someone who is playing hard to get, for example, like the thrill of the chase, the one that got away, or even something that is more taboo but you're scared to talk about it with someone because you're worried about how they'll react. Gigel, Gigel. I really should have looked at the pronunciation of these words beforehand. This is another Tagalog word that means an irresistible need to hug, pinch, or cuddle a loved one because they're so cute. Oh god, the first Georgian word, here we go. Shimomajamo. That sounded great, let's go with that. This is the feeling that someone gets where they know that they're full, but they continue to keep eating anyway. Like the other day, I just bought these chips for absolutely no reason. So I guess I got some Shimobachinamo in me. Elefantenrennen. This is yet another German word that means elephant race, or a situation where a slow driver tries to pass another slightly slower driver, but then they end up just obstructing the traffic everywhere as a result of it. I guess that happens a lot in Germany, I don't know. Okay, we're finally getting to the last tiers. So there are a lot fewer words in these tiers, but they get absolutely stupid. Ixwarpuk. I'm doing my best here. I'm really trying. This is an Inuit word and it means to go outside to see if anyone is coming. More specifically, when you're expecting someone and you're so eager for them to arrive, so you keep going out of your house and coming back in to see if they've arrived yet. It seeks to kind of describe that feeling of giddiness you get when you're expecting someone's arrival. Lebenslüge. This is a German word that literally means life lie. And it's a form of self-deception to avoid conflicts with a core part of one's identity or reality. This is super deep. What would my Lebenslüge be? Screw it. I guess my Lebenslüge would be that my Asperger's doesn't define me as a person, and that its symptoms, especially in social situations, can be greatly mitigated if I just don't give a lot of thought to it, even though it certainly affects everything I do and how I do it to a certain extent. I hope that makes sense. Having this YouTube channel has really helped me in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. I remember the days where it used to take me, I'm not joking, like 4 or 5 hours to record like a 6 or 7 minute talking head video, just because I was so, I don't even know the word to use, like afraid of talking to the camera. And I had a similar feeling when like talking to people and stuff. So if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. You're genuinely changing my life. And I hope that I can provide some level of goodness to others through my content. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. Suka. That means something different in Russian. This is actually a Sanskrit word that describes a capacity to experience a long-lasting feeling of bliss and fulfillment. So I guess the level of sukha varies a lot from person to person, depending on a lot of like predetermined factors. I'm not sure. All right, this is another English word that I really wanted to conclude because it's one of my favorites. This is bandwagon. So bandwagon is like trends that are really easy to adopt, but it more often refers to a specific person that seems to hop on every single trend and cool thing just because they want to fit in or be cool. We can call that person a bandwagoner. Schadenfreude. This one is also kind of messed up, I'm not gonna lie. A shameful pleasure that one derives from hearing about someone else's struggles or problems. Kind of like being a sadist, but specifically for hearing about people's difficulties. It's just an enjoyment of other people's miseries. Mokita. This is from the Kavilian language, which I had not heard of before researching this video, but it means a painful fact that everyone in the room knows, but no one wants to bring up so as not to cause more pain or embarrassment. Kind of like an elephant in the room, I suppose, in English, but you're going out of your way to not mention it. Sharmaji Beta. This one is really funny. So this is a Hindi word that literally means Mr. Sharma's son. And it refers to that perfect child that your parents compare you to. That's usually your parents' friend when they're really mad at you. Oh my god, finish. Kisanristiaset. This means cat's christening or cat's baptism because Finnish, and it refers to a trivial or unimportant celebration or social gathering. I'm gonna leave interpreting this up to you guys, but I'm sure we all have something in mind. Toska is a Russian word that is a mixture of a ton of emotions, including pining, restlessness, yearning, nostalgia, melancholy, and depression. I can't even imagine what that feels like. Oh, God, all right, I'll give it a try. Mani lapenatape. That was pretty good. This is a Yagan word, which is an indigenous language of the Tierra del Fuego region in South America. And it has a lot of different translations, but the most common one is a meaningful look shared by two people who both desire to initiate something, but are also reluctant to do so. So kind of like a Mexican standoff between two people. Oh yeah, we're on tier 7, by the way. Bien sûr. Bien sûr is an absolutely stupid French word that I don't know why it exists. The reason why it's so far down on this iceberg is because it's so freaking obscure. Absurdly obscure. Wow, say that 5 times fast. It means the spot where 2 loaves of bread touched in an oven, or like while baking in the oven, because French. Wabi-sabi. So this is a Japanese word that is actually pretty complicated. Like there's a whole section of literature dedicated to wabi-sabi, so it's very difficult to nail down like an exact translation. But it refers to a way of living that emphasizes finding beauty in the imperfect things, in imperfection, and accepting the natural cycle of growth and decay. So kind of approaching life with a growth mindset, acknowledging that perfection is impossible to achieve, but knowing that things are worth pursuing anyway because you're able to find meaning in the imperfect things. Won. This is a Korean word that is the name of the national currency in Korea, but it also has a completely other definition, which means the reluctance to let go of an illusion. It's so far down because I had a hard time really grasping this one, I'll be honest. Is it like a prank or a full-on schizophrenic manifestation of hell? Like, what kind of illusion are we talking about here? The world may never know. This is another one in English that I thought is really funny because it's very uniquely American. It's plead the fifth. And it goes all the way back to our Bill of Rights in addition to the original American Constitution. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution basically says that you cannot incriminate yourself. So if someone asks you a question in court, for example, that you feel if you answered you would be incriminating yourself, you have a right not to answer that question, if that makes sense. But in colloquial terms, it simply means not wanting to talk about a sensitive issue. Plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth.
Yugen. Yugen is a Japanese word that is that indescribable feeling you get when you try to contemplate the enormity and vastness of the universe. Like when you see those videos that show you the size of the Earth next to progressively bigger planets and stars until the Earth itself is just a little speck that you can barely see anymore. And then they put up stars that make those stars look small, and then they put up galaxies and then clusters and then super clusters and the whole observable universe. And then you realize that the whole observable universe is probably just a fraction of the entire universe because it's expanding every day and we can't see the whole thing. God, everyone should stay up all night and have a deep discussion like this with someone else at least once in their life. L'appel du vide. L'appel du vide is a French phrase that is, again, pretty morbid. It means the call of the void, and it refers to a sudden desire to jump from a high altitude when you're standing high up on something like a mountain or a bridge. I don't know. I don't want to comment on this one. All right, we are now at the very bottom of the iceberg, tier 8. Let's do this. Ilunga. This is considered by many translators around the world to be the hardest word to translate in the entire collective of human languages. It is from the Shliluba language spoken in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it indicates a person who is ready to forgive any abuse the first time it occurs. So someone who gives someone a second chance, to tolerate it the second time, to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but to neither forgive or tolerate a third offense. I just wonder what has had to happen to these people and how they're influenced by their culture to come up with really difficult to explain words like this. It's so interesting. Menefreghismo. This is an Italian word that was coined in fascist Italy during World War II, and it conveys a sense of arrogant disregard towards people, events, or situations. It's kind of like an overarching existential attitude towards the universe and not towards like any one person or event in particular. It's derived from one of the most famous fascist sayings, me ne frego, which means I don't give a damn. Me ne frego, menefreghismo, which soldiers allegedly wrote on their bandages that they covered up their war wounds with in World War II. Dossiewung. This is from Old English, yeah, Old English. And it's the thought that dust used to be other things, and the realization that everything will eventually end up as dust. Kind of a nihilistic, fatalistic point of view that tries to get you to think that nothing matters. But of course that's not true. You matter. More than you know. Depenleerzeichen. This is the most German word you have ever heard that warrants a really long explanation, but I'll try to keep it brief. This literally means idiot's white space, and it's the space that someone has on a piece of paper after mistakenly writing a compound word as two words. Now, it may sound a little confusing, and it is, but the reason why this is unique in German is because in the language you can essentially just slap two or more words together to create a bigger word as long as it remotely makes sense. This is so they don't actually have to invent new words like all the other ones, but they can just keep putting existing words together to serve whatever needs may come up. Do you have a word in your language that can't be translated into English? If so, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. See ya!